Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Rue. Thanks for being on this chilly, little brisk Saturday morning. And how would I know that? Well, I looked at the thermometer. I didn't even go outside this morning, but I made a cup of tea and I made a couple notes, believe it or not. That's hard for some of you to believe. But hey, when you talk as much as I do, sometimes you got to remember what you said. Nah, you don't have to do that. Being old is just telling the same old story over and over again if you want to. So, thanks for joining me this morning. I was painting a honeybee because it has to do with today's show a little bit, and I'm also being selfish and catching up. This will be 7:10. So, no, 7:12. I've already done 7:11. Hey, I'm going to take that bee to the market. So this is going to be number 712 right there. And I'm painting it on with a fountain pen on Kilimanjaro paper. There it is right there. Had a paper mishap this week. Yeah, a paper mishap. I don't know if you've ever had a paper mishap, but this is 140 pound, you're going to know it, cold press, right? So stuff we're going to be talking about in my beginner's class. We're going to start talking from paper once again. Do you have a favorite? Yes. Does my favorite need to be your favorite? Heck no. Your paper needs to be what you love, what you grow passionate about, what you say. I know how I'm going to create on that paper. I know how that paper responds to my brushstroke. I know how it responds to water. I know how it responds to my color. So you make that your paper. Can you change that? You can change anything you want. I'm going to talk a little bit about that this morning. Let me make myself another note here. Hold on one second. I made some notes, but I want to talk about. Let's see. Did I put that somewhere? Oh yeah, there it is, right there. Change. Okay, perfect. Let's see if I remember that. If not, somebody text me in a little bit. Go change or not text me, but let me. Here's why I'm painting a bee first thing is because this is going to be called, let's see, I don't have anything to make a circle out of up here. Oh, there's my coffee cup. I'll use that. Here we go. Just set my coffee cup right there. Do I have a pencil at the desk? Embarrassingly, no. What kind of, oh, wait. Buried over here. Oh my gosh, this is an embarrassment for a pencil right there. Look at this lead. It's not lead, it's graphite, but look at it. It's just horrible. Hey, once again, if you're sharpening your pencil, don't ever sharpen. Some of you have pencil sharpeners. If I don't have a pencil, I don't have a sharpener, but I have a pocket knife. Don't sharpen your pencil like this. Sharpen your pencil like this. Rock your knife down in your fingers and put it above your thumb and just scrape it out like this. Look at this. This is how I would do it when I was in elementary school. At school. Yeah, it was a different time, wasn't it? My jeans all had this little place in the back pocket where my pocket knife sat, and it had worn there. And, never thought about hurting anybody with a knife. Never thought about, using a knife anything but like a utility tool. It's a crazy world we live in. It's a crazy world, but I live here. And if you can hear me singing, so do you. And I'm turning out my nightlight feeling satisfied. Got those in the trash can. There's nothing any one of us can do. All right. Yeah, there is. All right, so here's what I'll do. Sometimes I'll just take and I'll just do a light little circle right around this, just like this right there. There's a little circle around there. See that? That's close to a circle anyway. And I'm going to put a title up there in just a second. And I wanted it in the circle because it's sort of, I think they go together a little bit. It's a little bit of that. I might break out and bring in my little stencil and put some, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Let me say hello to you. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. We got a whole hour together this morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining Roo Doodles Live. What's that old saying? I just wash my face and can't do a thing with it. Oh, I think it's hair. But I have both problems this morning. So, let me say hello, right out of the chute. Jennifer Yentz, good morning to you. Jason Nicholas, welcome. Chris Whitaker, always welcome on the show. Nancy Catlett, Kay Marie Pikert, Linda Linhart from Orlando. I got you, June Jones. Good morning, she says. Good morning. Donna Buckley, Donna as we call Payne's Gray. Okay. Karen Binder, welcome to the show. Catherine Brousseau, Deborah Tauber, Denise Albright from all the way out in California. Renee Keese, always good to see you on the show. I'm excited to be watching this morning. I'm excited to be, your picture is a little round, chubby face of a child, an infant no less, maybe, 3, 4 months old, something like that. 4 months old, maybe. That's a cute kid. Beaks and Feathers, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Roo and Croo, C-R-O-O. Hey, man, I'll send you something to listen to later. Love to hear it. Stephen Dockery not only has been painting on this show for a while and painting birds, and he's quite a musician too, so it's always fun to see what he comes up to. Alice Durham, thanks for being on the show. Shula Ruby, good morning to you. Blessed to have you on the show this morning. Tom Brzezinski, there he is right there, ladies and gentlemen, talking about him the other day. Good morning from the magical arpeggios, the sunny coast of Maine. I was just thinking about Maine, and I hope you saw my quote the other day. You inspired me to paint. Not only did you inspire me when we met and you talked about roosters, but you inspired me. Oh, the ballerino. I painted a ballerino. A B-rena, I don't know what it was. It was somewhere on one of these little pages. I did it as a doodle. Let's see if it's here somewhere. It might be right here. You painted such a beautiful little pen and ink ballerina, and I just sketched a bee into my same look there. It's a little more like maybe an inebriated hornet, but you inspire me. I love all your sketches. Miss Carla, welcome to the show. Just dropping in for a few minutes before heading out to a yard sale. Well, if you find something good, if you find a little brass anvil about that big, let me know, okay? All right. Gene Anthalzer, welcome to the show. Karen Bender, Annette Wall, good morning. John Robert Small, glad to have you on the show this morning from Coffee Country. Pat Brooks, always glad to have you. What, 63 in Florida? Wow. And Shula, thanks. You're in the Netherlands. Is that correct? You've been on the show once or twice before. That's neither here nor nether there. It's the Netherlands. I'm just making up silly stuff. Renee Cummings, glad to have you here from the Villages in Florida. Elaine Barnett, Ann Westra, Donacelle Barton. I call you the Rube Goldberg painter. Heather Coyman, Fern Skelly, Cindy. Wow, look at all you guys. Cindy Wiltermood is on the show this morning. Trish Brown, golly, thanks for being on, people. Love it so much. Ruth Ann Godey, welcome to see you. All right, so here's what we're going to do this morning. Laura Abbott, Pat Lightbody, J.A. Berg. Gosh, guys, thank you for piling on this show and making it such a wonderful morning. And I'm just going to start off by telling you this. This show, this live stream that I do, Roo Doodles Live, has actually changed my life in lots of ways. One is I get more monthly bills than I've ever gotten from companies, from Ecamm Live and from Zoom and from my internet company. And so one day I'm just going to show up on my phone. I'm going to go, everything's just crashed. And so I'm on duct tape and baling wire and all, but it works. So I've been blessed to have enough technology in my brain to get all the wires laid out together to make this work. And it's happening. And so I'm doing things that I never thought I would do. And it's because of this community. So I'm going to keep painting this bee, but I want you to think about this for a second. When you don't know what to do, all right, listen, just take a note here for 1 second. And by the way, if you do have a question, I'm going to give myself a Q reminder here, Q. Just put a Q with it, a capital Q or 1 or 2 Qs or whatever. 2 Qs is fine. And I'll search that in a minute and I'll get a question from you in case it rolls by and I don't get it. I love to pick up a question every now and then. So if that works, let me do that. Okay, here we go. What do you do when you don't know what to do? Are you comfortable with just being? And you think, no, I really don't have any time when I can just be. And I'm painting this bee, and there's a question I want to lead into for that because sometimes it came to me in some readings this week, and I'm going to share that reading with you in a little bit. I'm just going to put a little piece of music. I'm going to finish some of this bee, and then if you do have a question or two, I'll jump on it. And we'll go from there. Donna Buckley says, and it just popped up, do you have a favorite pencil? No, I don't, because I, I steal them from offices where I don't. They have them in a glass usually sitting there. And in fact, I met with a guy over a year and a half ago who had on his desk the box of the most beautiful wooden pencils I'd ever seen. And they were all sharpened to an absolute pristine point. And as I got ready to leave, he said, he, by the way, used three of them while he was taking notes. He took notes with a pencil. And I was talking and explaining something, and he sat there, and then every now and then he'd lay that pencil down, and he'd reach over and he'd pull another one out, and he would go with that. He did three pencils, and I said, I can't help but notice, he said, I just love the smell, I love the feel of a good wooden pencil. He said, please take one with you. And I did. And this one, of course, is from Maine. And so for you guys that live up in that area, it's from the Atlantic Highway, Lincolnville, Maine. It's just about 6 miles out of Camden, Maine, I believe. And this is the Windsor Chair Makers. And I went by and we spent 45 minutes talking to them about making Windsor chairs. And the Windsors that we've had for years, there's one in my office. There's 5 that are scattered out through my children, but there's 8 that we have now that are Cadbury Windsors from the Cadbury Castle. And yes, I didn't pay hardly anything for them. A lady owned them, and she was moving back to South Africa, and they had come from her husband from Windsor Castle. They're reproductions made like the ones that were in Windsor, but he lived, that's part of his family, and they had all these chairs made, and they were made in the 50s, and or I think 60s. They're just beautiful chairs, and they have a bent to support in the bottom. And I said, I need to ask you a question. What's the support for? And he said, oh, is it bowed? And I said, yes, it's a bowed support. And in the bottom, it's not a straight support. It's bent wood. And he said, it was to make room for the hoop skirts. When the women sat down in their hoop skirts, the skirt would tag back in the chair. And I went, I'm loving these chairs even more. Thankful that my wife found them through a friend, and we drove down to Bluffton to pick them up before this lady moved. All right, so see, everything's a story for me. But when you don't know what you're doing, to answer the question, any pencil that has graphite in it is good. I had to search for one this morning. I do love I told it to Chip about it this day. I do love a 555 layout pencil. It's made by General's 555 layout pencil. General's 555. Why? I like it the way that it. Well, there's another pencil laying there, and I didn't even see it. See, this one's a Ticonderoga. I like Murado Black Warriors, and I just like a good 2H pencil, or 2B. 2B, that's what I like. I don't like a 2H, it's too hard. I like a pencil that if I put a little color down with it like this, I can slide my finger across it and just create a little bit of a shadow. I like that right there. So anyway, I don't have a favorite one, but I do. I have a lot that I don't like. I don't like plastic pencils. I like pencils that are real wood. Cedar pencils are okay. So there you go. All right, here we go. All right, you guys are just having all kinds of conversations. So I was going to tell you, if you don't know what to do you know how to be? And here's my thought, okay? So as I paint this bee, I'm going to put a little music on, but I want you to consider this. Do I really, as an artist and thinking like an artist, do I really just know how to be? Am I comfortable with just in my skin of coming to a blank piece of paper and not knowing what I'm going to draw? Or does that agitate me? Does that make me frustrated? This is the stuff that I'm going to talk about again in some of the classes, and I talk about it on Patreon, of getting people to shift gears. And here's what I was going to say. You have to be willing to adapt to change. My daughter just spoke at an art event this weekend, and she was talking about how over the years she's had to adapt. And she said, you know, Dad, you and I have had to do this. We've had to adapt our art. And it doesn't mean that I sell out. When I started blacksmithing, I blacksmithed with coal all the time because that's how blacksmith needed to learn, or that's what everybody thought. And so you learn to tend the coal, and you realize that 70% of your blacksmithing back then was just tending the fire. Now, I still can blacksmith with coal. I don't have my coal forge set up anymore, and my neighbors would frown on that a little more. But about 20 years ago, actually, I shifted over to a forge that is propane powered, and it's fired up by propane. And now about 10% of my time is worried about the heat and the fire, and the other time is worried about how I'm using the hammer and the tongs, and the metal is turning, and the tools around my anvil. So it caused me to change. Now, I had friends who said, well, he's not a blacksmith because he doesn't blacksmith with coal. And I'm going, oh, I see. I said, okay, so let me ask you this. Do you ever go home and, I see that you're a fisherman, yes. Do you ever fillet the fish? You bet I do. Okay, do you use a stainless steel knife or do you use a flint? Because, our early Americans, North American natives, you know what they did? They chipped flint, and they filleted their fish with flint. No, they didn't. They just cooked them and ate around the bones. And you're filleting with a knife that was made in the 20th century. What are you talking about? And so they go, well, that's different. I go, it is, really? So do you use a rock as an anvil, or do you use steel anvil? Well, I use a steel anvil. Oh, I see. So you realize what made the blacksmith better was that he adapted his tools to make his art better. This young kid that was at my shop just last weekend, he said, what is that? I said, it's a fuller that I made to make a collar, a ring around something. And he goes, wow, how would I had to do that before? And I said, very difficultly, but I was actually took two pieces of rod and I welded them together and I folded them over. So when I hammer on them, I get equal force coming from both sides. That's hard to explain without seeing it, but it makes this ring, it collars this. It's a fuller. A fuller is when you push the metal down into a shape. If you had a sword that was a sword that came out of the early American Revolution or Civil War, it may have a groove down the center. That's a fullered groove. It's been fullered in the metal when it was forged. And so how would you do that? You could do it with a hammer, it'd be all rough, or you could do it with a round rod. So you make tools, you create tools. You are okay with just being in the process of sitting still, are you? Do you have to be doing something all the time? And so for me, sometimes I have to be doing something all the time. But here lately, I've learned to just stop. And I was going to tell you, I was reading a story this week, and I was reading it in this book right here, which is a little book I read about disciplines for the inner life. And it's got all sorts of subjects and comments in it. And one of them was a teacher at this little school. It was a little Christian high school. He decided to introduce a time of just silence and meditation and just being into his class. Just not texting, not typing, not picking up a pen or a pencil, just sitting, just being. Not going like, oh, I'll type this will be great, like to see that. No. It's, well, let me scan these videos real quickly here while my rice is cooking. No, just being. Well, I'm on chapter 3 of this, or I'll pick up on the rerun. No, it's just being. I've got some socks I need to darn. I've been knitting this thing. I want to finish this. No, it's just being. How are you at that? Because I'm going to tell you something. When that gets right in your head, when it gets right, just maybe it's not even making the tea. Maybe it's having the tea made so it's just there. Maybe you don't even sip it. Maybe it's just there. Have you ever tried that for 1 minute? So here's what this teacher did. He was the instructor, so he would come in and do certain things with them, special things with them. So he said, today, I'm instructing you just to be, just to sit still, be silent. So he increased the time the next day, and then he increased the time the next day. The next week, he increased it by a minute. Over a period of a month, he got them up to 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And you're thinking, 10 minutes? That's nothing. It is to a child. It is to us sometimes now when we're doing something or watching a show like this, or when we're reading, or when we're thinking, or when we're like, how long is these commercial break? It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds. What are they thinking? Are they thinking I'm going to sit here and not go to the refrigerator? To just be. One student came and said, ready for this? Don't miss this, please. I took my time in telling you that. just to get you to consider how this is slowing down here. Listen to this. And this is not because I don't have a lot of things to say, for heaven's sakes. My brain is faster than most. No, that's not a brag. That's sometimes a fault. A student came and said, this was surprising. I could not believe that this was a time that no one is expecting me to deliver something or be excellent at what I do or to get something finished or to check a box. This was just a time for me to just be silent and quiet and love the time. Well, the students were astonished. They were surprised. But so were some of the parents when they heard about it. What? The teacher is doing what? I am not going to pay tuition to this class for him to just tell my kids to sit there and do nothing for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, this mom said. 10 minutes. You can't. I'm not paying you to stand in front of your class and tell my students not to do anything for 10 minutes. How can 10 minutes for some people who think like an artist be such a beautiful, breathtaking, astonishing time? And how can it for other people be such a severe punishment for you're wasting my money and time? Wow. Did you catch what I said there? See, this is the kind of stuff that I ponder on when I sit and think. So I get reprimanded for not using coal because I've changed to gas. I had people who say at an event they said, "Oh, you watercolor paint. Oh, so you must think that us people who paint with acrylic are just like losers." And I go, "Oh yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, are you one of those? Oh my gosh." And she realized that she said, "I'm sorry, that was not a very nice question, was it?" I said, "It has nothing to do with being nice. You're assuming that I don't appreciate you because I paint with a different medium. I paint with this, and you paint with little stiff paints in a tube, right? That are hard to get out, and you have to push around with your brush." And I'll go on and on and on. But no, I've actually painted with acrylic. As a matter of fact, I have a painting right now that I'm working on that's bigger than, what's the biggest painting you've ever done? She said, "Oh, sometimes I'll do a 18 by 24 inch painting." And I said, "Yeah, my watercolor blotter's that big." I'm working on a painting right now that's 4 feet by 8 feet. A watercolor? Heavens no, it's on canvas. Oil? Oh no. I changed from oil to water, and now every now and then I'll just grab some acrylic, but I'm not even going to paint this in acrylic. I'm going to do it in house paint. I'm going to go to Home Depot, and I'm going to buy those little 50-cent cans of mismixed paint. Try to say that 15 times. And they're like 50 cents for a little can of just craziest colors. And I'm going to bring those colors back, and I'm going to lay this thing out in my driveway, and I'm going to paint this right here. Here it is. Here's the sketch. There it is. If it comes up, let's see if it does. Kaboom, there it is. This painting over there is 4 by 8 feet. There you can see my hand in front of it, and I'm this far out from it. So that's it in relationship. So you see, the point is there it is in full size. And by the way, it is 8 feet tall. So when I'm standing here, I can just reach above his head. And I'm going to paint it with those little cans of mismatched sample colors. And they're all right there in the paint department. They go like, "Hey, creative paints, clearance. This was mismatched, mismixed," all those little words they use for that. And I'll just pick them up and I'll go 50 cents each. And I'm going to go paint this in. So I'll pour it out in my driveway and I'll make it work. And I'll film it so you guys can see it. All right. So let me go up here and answer a couple questions. I want you to be comfortable just being. How do kids inspire your creativity like you when you were teaching blacksmithing? Wow. Jason, that's a great question. When Alexander asked me questions about blacksmithing, can he stump me? Probably not at his age, but what I was impressed with his ability to pick up on metallurgy and say, "Oh yeah, I realize that what happens to the atoms is they compact." And I'll say, "Yeah." And he's got some science, he's got some smarts, he's got this, but he has this love Alexander has this love of making things. And his parents have to embrace that and let him be okay in that. Or he will never either go deep into it till he learns how to provide for himself and be passionate, or until he will always look back and say, I wish I had a. And sometimes that's what people do. They said, I say that still today. You know what I say I wish most? I wish I had not quit piano. And so people say, yeah, but why don't you start today? And I go, because now my wheelbarrow is full. I learn something new every year, but I can't learn piano the way I want to play it in a year. So I'll just go back and I'll write my songs. And my voice is not what it was when I was young. In fact, it's like here. And so I don't worry about it as much. And I'm okay when I just be a little bit in that. So I think you get the idea of where I'm going this morning. This is what I'm going to talk about a little bit in my beginner's course, because I don't want to be that artist who instructs and helps you so that you just paint like I paint. Don't go to one of those classes where the person grabs your hand and says, oh no, do it like this. That's why I just walked off a few times and took that tongs very few times away from Alexander when I was teaching him last week. And he'll come back to my house and he'll be on his own. And he'll have to ask me questions to go through and make that little hook, which, by the way, I mailed off to, I sent it to both, her name was Molly Molly Artman. I mailed it to her, and then I mailed it to Chris. And whatever happened to the other little bottle opener I sent to Chris almost a year ago at the tractor show. That's where we did that. Hey, let me grab a brush and paint this bee real quick, just to give you painting something, see if there's another question. All right, so if there are, I'll jump on them. Jason, Mark Langston, welcome to the show. Jason, always love to have you thinking in the morning. Teresa Emmerich, good to have you on the show. Look, what I've done here is I'm just grabbing this little bee, and I'm just throwing a little bit of black in here. Why am I putting the black in first? Wouldn't it be easier to come back and put that? Yeah, probably. But there's something that I like to do here that just works this way when I'm painting bees. Don't be a painter that just does it the way I do it. Branch out, do it your own cotton picking way. The reason I'm doing this, and I have an old number 4. Can you see how beat up this brush is? An old number 4 that I'm literally painting this with. Now notice I sketched this with a fountain pen. So really, the ink is lying on top of this 140-pound Kilimanjaro, and it's lying on there pretty well. And so all I have to do, in fact, there's no more paint in this brush. I just am letting the ink connect. But you see what I'm doing here? I'm softening up some of this around the edges. And the reason I'm doing that is because bees have a little fuzz around the edge. And I've gone in here and I've got a little bit of, I guess you might call it a little bit of, I call it sand. It's probably light brown, beige. It's not really beige, but that's kind of a nice color that I put right in there like that. And this bee doesn't look too good in the beginning. And I didn't wet my paint this morning. I'm just using kind of a drier mix. And here's why. I didn't want a lot of water running here. I'm not even going to let this dry. I'm just going to reach in here and just drop some of this in. Now, it's going to hit into the black. And when it does, the black runs into the yellow. And that's why I put the black on first, because look, it's not like when you're making bees that you get to tape them off. Don't be so detailed that you think, oh, I have to paint a bee and have to make sure that the yellow doesn't run to the black. These are hairs on the bee. They're interlaced a little bit. And so then I'm going to come back in here with my fountain pen. By the way, this is a fountain pen you might not have seen on the show, but it's the same fountain pen as this one. It is a Kikuno fine point. I think this is the fine point. Yes, fine. It has an F marked on it right there. So these really are the same pens, just different wrappers. And I like this one. I gave one of my pens away last week, and I had to go resurrect one of these out of the box over there. I've got a couple of these. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just putting a little detail in with this pen again. And I'll come down here, and I'll just wobble this pen in some just like this. His body's bent a little bit. You see that? It's not one of the greatest sketchings I've ever had. But how do you know he's not kind of coming around the corner and you can't see his backside over here, see? So I can get by with that. I'm going to take a little bit of a clean brush, sweep it into this little bit of buff titanium right here, and just let that sweep across the wings just a little. Over that, I put some graphite in there. Remember that? I was showing somebody a pencil while we were talking. I'm just going to pop a little bit of that in there like that. Might come in here and grab a little bit of orange. This will be a different twist. Put a touch of orange right there. Look at that. That looks good. And maybe a little bit of mummy brown just right here. You don't hear me call out these colors very much because if I do, people start going to get those colors, and then you get the colors that you love. People say, oh, what supplies do I need to paint with you? And I'm going like, what supplies are you painting with now? I don't care if you're painting a blue bee. Doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you get a feel for what it is that you want to do. By the way, this is another pen. These are made by Pilot. This is also a Pilot pen. These are the pens that we gave the guys that show up at my house. They were here a Thursday night. We did a hot dog bar with the Clements hot dogs out of Chicago. Nothing like having Chicago dogs flown in. I didn't fly them in. Fresh Market did. Clements, K, starts with a K. Clements hot dog. Best hot dog you'll ever eat. Cooked them over a hickory fire, just laying on a steel grill. Just literally built the fire, let the coals burn down, and just laid them out. And I turned them all at the same time with a clean paint stick, one of those thick 1/4-inch paint sticks from Home Depot. Just lay it on all and go, and they all roll at the same time. You got to make the sound effects to make it work. All right, so I can keep doodling with this little bee. This is what I have fun doing here. I think I have one of these pens too that's a extra fine. Here's an extra fine pen. So I can come in with this extra fine and then put in a little bit of the wing detail. And that's kind of fun too if you're not used to doing that. That's always just kind of fun. And there's a little bit of the thing here. All right, let's see. Let me see if there's another question or two. Jason, I'm always inspired, and the pencil with the two questions, I'm always inspired by the questions that kids ask. And so don't think I just put out hot dogs. I put out, ready for this? We did the Clements, and I did some, I was going to have my friend Chip come over, but it turned into be a lighter night. And so I just said, look, I need your skills on a night where I need you thinking chef and not just turning some hot dogs for me. And so so I cooked them all, but here what I did was I sauteed onions, and then I sauteed in a cast iron on that grill. And my cast iron skillets, I did a big jar of Bavarian kraut, and I let that steam out, and then I sprinkled cheese over that and let it melt in the kraut, and I put that out, and I had slaw, cream cheese. Have you ever had a hot dog with cream cheese on it? Oh my gosh. Several different kinds of mustards and sauces, and a nice potato brioche bun. It was a brioche. These were brioche. And these were already sliced. I usually slice the bun down the top. These hot dogs stick off both ends. And anyway, potato salad. And then we made, Carol did the potato salad and then walked me through, Joanne Gaines macaroni and cheese, which has Gruyere and cheddar, white cheddar, not half and half, whole cream and milk and ground mustard powder and also nutmeg. Oh my gosh. And then cheddar grated over the top and baked at 400 degrees. Yeah. So there's my, okay. Why I'm always hungry after a recession. I tell you why is because food is the connector. And so that's going to get me to this. 2 years ago, you guys connected me in a way that I didn't ever believe you could be connected with a community through the internet, even though I know that people watched it and did things for it and moved on it and bought and sold. But you've become a community for each other too. That's why you just, if I kept up with all these quotes, it'd drive me completely batty because y'all are talking about carrot souffles and all that stuff. And I'm talking on this end. So it's a crazy thing. But one of the things I'm going to do this year, and I was inspired by Jason just recently. In fact, he was going to fly down, and I'm sorry we missed that. We're going to do it again someday. But he's going to actually, I'm just going to Zoom him one day, and we're going to talk about art and the kind of art that he's doing and the inspiration that he's doing for his students in New Jersey. And we're going to talk about that. And I thought, I should do that this year. I'd be happy to do 6 people at a time and just Zoom some of them and figure out ways to inspire you. If you want to really do something with your art, we'll figure out a way to make that happen. But coming up in November, and their sign up is out there if you want to see it. Coming up in November, I think it's the 3rd. It's a Thursday morning. I'm going to do an hour class, and this is for beginners. If you want to start again with what kind of pens, what kind of paper, not just the specific brands, but what you're going to do. We're going to do that on watercolor, and we're going to go from there. So it's part of it is the discipline, because you don't need me telling you everything to paint. You need to show up so that you'll have the discipline to do this 20 minutes a day or an hour a day, or 20 minutes a day is nothing. Okay, add 30 to it, 30 minutes a day. And 10 of that, just sort of be and get yourself, I'm not going to say centered, but get yourself in a place where, do it like this. The art of being. There it is right there. Now, when that dries, I think when that dries, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some more little follicles and little hair pieces around here. Take that little fine pen. I think this is it right here, is it? Extra fine. Yeah, it's a little extra fine pen here. These little pens, really, I love them so much. I love the detail in them. I like the way, this is my style, by the way. This doesn't have to be your style. As a matter of fact, I would fail miserably if you came to my painting class and you decided that all your paintings had to look like my paintings. I'd fail for lots of ways. Number one is, go get your own style. Sell your own paintings. Make it be your painting. No B, pun intended there for that one. Now, I think that ink is going to dry a little bit, and I'm going to come in here and just erase that little circle. The only thing I had to do, I just wanted it to look like it was going in the right direction. I'm going to grab this right here. This should be just fun. And I'm going to just throw a little piece of this in there. This is, I keep this on the desk every now and then just for my little beehive stuff. It's a piece of metal that I really do kind of like. And I'm just going to grab this some at random here. That one just went right over my name where I signed it. I love that. All right, that's all I'm going to do right there. And then I think I'll probably come in and just grab a little bit of yellow and actually go in between some of that like this. A little too much paint in there. So I'm going to go down here, get a little, thin it out, come in here, come back to there, grab some of that, come right in here. Probably should put another one or two right in there. Probably shoulda, woulda, coulda. Not going to. What the heck? Doesn't matter. A little touch of just some of that buff titanium in there like that. And then maybe just some beauty splatters. This was a good thing to use a pencil for right there. Just throw it in there like that. And I suddenly have the makings of this little painting that is kind of fun. Look at that. Little splatters, and then you have this finished painting that looks kind of like this. The Art of Being. And so that's 712. I'll post him out there today. Somebody might need to get into the art of being. If I wanted to, I guess I do because I'm going to do it. Here, go back and get a little bit of white splatter in here like this. Just a little touch of some white splatter right there. Touch a little shadow right here on his eye. Yeah, that's pretty cool right there. Take out a couple of those little black lines here. With some of this, this is titanium white. You don't use white much because we use white space in the art, but it gives you an idea how it works. I found recently while trying to have music in the background, I do choose music fit the style, and I'm working. I found it yeah, and I do that all the time. Y'all know I play a lot of music for that reason, and I find when I play something that sounds like this, or if I play something that sounds like this, I'll find my brush moving a little more. So this would be for me doing a big whimsical painting. If I find something like this, I find my movement more industrial and gears and pulleys and yeah. So that's fine. Do that. I'm just talking to you about when you're doing the be time of just sitting still for a little bit and contemplating. Think about some things that I just put on my list this morning. Don't be fooled by anybody's art, and don't think that don't be fooled like this. You're not a blacksmith if you don't blacksmith with coal. No. That's like saying you're not a musician if you don't play the piano. That's not true. Mark's on this morning, a great guitar player. My house has guitars. My house has, my point is that it's not only paint. It's not only drawing and sketching. It's how you connect with people. It's what you do with your style. It's how you address the person who's checking out your groceries. That's community. There's a word for that that's been used a long time, especially by a guy. He wrote a book by the title, Seth Godin, which I really like. It's called linchpin. You know what a linchpin is? A linchpin is, in the modern day definition, a linchpin is a person who is substantial and important and indispensable in the community or in his place of work. He's a linchpin. A linchpin is also a big pin on the farm that goes through the axle that holds the wheel on. So if you're drawing a Ferris wheel, you want the Ferris wheel to have a pretty strong linchpin there somewhere that connects that Ferris wheel to the axle, that connects that axle to the gear that turns the wheel. You don't want that to be a shabby little pin. Because what happens is if that pin shears or breaks and the Ferris wheel, as all those people are rolling around, decides to slip off the axle, it's going to be a heck of a ride down the road. And so for you to be a linchpin in the community, you have to realize that I have the ability to teach other people, children. I have the ability to teach my own grandchildren. I have the ability to sit with others, not as a great artist, but as an inspirer to say, I'll make some tea. Let's grab a pencil and just sketch something. I have all of that ability. Well, I don't want to get out my oil paints because they don't dry great. Then grab some acrylics, they dry faster. But really, I'm an oil painter. I can't tell people that I paint with acrylic. You go, seriously? So who told you that that's the only way you could make art? I was drawn to watercolor because why? It dries fast. It's beautiful. I love it because I can see the paper through it. And I love how it overlaps. And I love how it makes hard lines in those mushroom shapes that you can't get with a brush. I'm pulled to that. I always have been. I like good oil painting, but we probably have more watercolor in our house than we have oil. We have lots of mixed media of people who just said, hey, I bet that was noisy. Shake that in there. Here's some ink. Let's drop some ink on that. Let's throw a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I've never done salt. Well, I have one time, but people put salt in their watercolors and it breaks it out. It makes it looser looking. I just learned to paint loose with Japanese brushes. They work great for that. All right. So you see what's happening if you just let this sort of fall into its own world and you quit worrying about it so much. Just learn to be this year. And that's my class is not going to be a class where people just come and sit for an hour. That's like you do in this class sometimes where I just pontificate. But it's Saturday morning, and so you're going to make coffee, and I'm going to go make pancakes. This is the art of being. So how fun is that just to scribble art? He's on 5.5 by 8.5 paper. I'm going to rip him out of here right now. Once he's dry, I may splatter him a little more. I may not. I paint. This is number 712 because I remember I keep up with it in a strange way because I'd already painted 711. I gave away several paintings this week. Here's some fishing flies. This is 626. Look at him. Look how bright he is. He turned out so bright. In fact, that makes me want to just grab this one again and put a little more of that orange in there. I just like some of that just to sweep it, and maybe a little orange pollen on his legs right there. Oh, that looks good. And I didn't even try to make it even. I just swept it in and let it fall in there. That's good. Maybe take what's left in that brush and just pat it in there like that. Is there anybody looking out there that doesn't think that's like a honeycomb? Did you see how fast I did that? Well, that's cheating. He used a template. Is it cheating, or is it just a creative use of a new tool? It's a piece of metal that I designed for an office backdrop that would hold bulletin boards on with magnets. And I liked the way it was punched out in honeycomb style. So I just cut a little piece off, and I still get cut with it every now and then because I should have filed these down, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. So I hang it on a push pin on my wall, and there it is. And I just turn it different ways. It's never the same. I turn it upright. Now, I can't use it as a true stencil because it doesn't work that well. All right. Linda says she's making, I'm making homemade tomato soup today. Wait a minute. Did you make the tomatoes too? Marzano is the tomatoes you want to use, and you want to crush them with your hands. And then you want a little basil in there and touch of lemon juice and not too much cream. You want to take the cream will kill some of the tomato. But if you're going to do a grilled cheese to dip in that, then do 2 cheddars, a piece of Colby, and then a small little piece of horseradish cheddar. And then grill it very slowly with a weight on top. If you don't have a sandwich weight, then wrap a brick in aluminum foil and heat the brick up on the other eye. And then pick it up with a pot holder and set it on top of your sandwich. Butter underneath, no olive oil on the sandwich. You got olive oil in your soup. You don't need olive oil on the bread. And then grill that sandwich and then cut it in slices and dip it in the soup. The horseradish cheddar will set you on fire. It'll just go like, oh my gosh, what happened here? All right, so there's the end of that recipe. See, somebody just said, got the right tomatoes and the basil to use yesterday. So you guys, this should be a cooking show. Maybe we'll do that next. We'll just do a cooking show. If some of you would like that, let me know, and I'll get Carol to do a recipe one night. We'll set it up, and we'll cook online, okay? I promise. We'll do it. It's community. All right. Let me see if there's any more questions here real quickly, and Jason's still holding up there. I got one of Donna. Let's see, 1Q. First redoodle in some time. Thanks for coming on. Mary Quayle, thank you for being here. Do you have a favorite pencil? We went through that. Okay, boom. There's the rest of those cues. Okay. All right. Hey, thank y'all for being a part of this. Let me see. I want to do a rooster this morning. I got 10 minutes to go. And so, and then with the paint, the menu challenge. There we go. I'm in for the cooking show, Chip Fur says. I love it when you made biscuits. Yeah, those were great biscuits, by the way. Those were Kelly's little biscuits. And by the way, I sent them a painting that I did that morning that the roosters were, when the roosters were, I'll tell you when that was. It was March, wasn't it? Look at this. Look at this. She sent me a note back. There it is right there. Carrie Morey, she's the Hot Little Biscuit Company, and I sent them the painting. It was in January, and I did the biscuits. She said, wow, what a gorgeous painting you sent to me. Absolutely love it. Thanks you for your talent. We love watching. Thank you for watching us grow and supporting our small business. Cheers. Callie Morey. And there she is right there. So, you know, when we get back down to Charleston, I'll look her up and be fun to go sit down with her and just have a little chat and but I sent her a little ruse making biscuits. I think that's what I did. All right, so this is a little pad that I've been carrying around, and it's made by I think it's Swarthmore. Let's see. Yes, there it is right there. Strathmore, Strathmore, Strathmore. And so it's decent watercolor paper. It's not what I'd call the top of the line, but man, do I love to carry this in my bag. And then if you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages, 7, 8 pages already ripped out of it. And so it's fun for me just to have where I go and cut a little there. I've been into bees. This is 624, that's 626. And then I did a couple fishing flies. Look, I've cut out, there's 4 paintings missing right here, and I don't even remember what they were. It's the day I painted a watch, Here's a lobster crawling onto the page. This will be something about my house paint colors will be sort of like this, I think, on the canvas. Let me do a little roo here this morning on this paper just to show you how kind of fun this is. And I'm going to do him with a, I'm going to do him with this pilot right here. I'm going to do him with this Metropolitan pilot. This is called the Metropolitan, and it's a fountain pen that's made by Pilot. It uses the same ink of my Kakunos, but these are designed in a Japanese company. These are designed here in the States. I guess they just had to look them a little more business-like. I don't know what they were doing. So this is that roo that I love to do. It's kind of a black and white and a little bit of color. I'm going to bring his beak back like this, drop his wattle in there. By the way, this paper being a little less rough than my Kilimanjaro, the sketching that you can do with it with a fountain pen is pretty fun, okay? It just really works out pretty well. So I think you might love doing this. So you can see I'm taking my time, being very careful to sketch this little rooster here. And I'm going to bring his leg down like this. And then I'm just going to bring his toes out like this. So he's standing with there. And then I love to do this foot like this. There's his third toe. And then there's his fourth toe. And his foot's cut back like that. You can see he's holding that up like he stepped on a nail, which is you're apt to do. Probably a rusty nail out on the farm. I just made that part up, but it's probably true. Those of you who grow up out in the country like I did, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so there is that. There's that rooster. See? Isn't that fun? I'm going to grab this brush right here, clean water. Then I'm going to come in on his tail. I haven't added any paint yet. Oh my gosh, he's running out of the lines. Those little spots that I put on there, because of that pen, they bleed this great color. Gonna drag this in here. Here's where that pen bleeds right into my ink, or excuse me, my paint. The ink from the pen gets wet and it moves right in, and it gives it some great little shadows down in the corners, which you just really love. I just love that. I'm using a little less water this morning because I want this to be really bold and bright, so I'm not letting it flow as much as I normally do. I'm just holding on to it. I think this roo calls for some serious purple. Why? I just looked over there and saw that purple and thought, this guy needs a little bit of royalty in his world. I'm going to grab some Terry Tardy turquoise. Clean brush, slide it in right there. I think you can see my turquoise coming in right there. Let's just put a little more water in there. Shake that up. My dad, as a block mason, would say, shake up over here. I'd have to take my little bottle of water and run over there. Wow. Who's to say you can't start off with a black and white roo and then just kind of go crazy with it? Now watch. I'm going to hit this right here on the outside edges with a little bit of this yellow, and then I'm going to let the yellow brush touch this red right here and watch what it does. See that orange start to run? Do you look like I'm hurrying? I think so. I'll tell you why. Watch this. There were 3 minutes and 20 seconds when I started that music, and there you go right there. So people say, how long does it take you to paint a rooster? And I say, 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Actually, I finished 2 seconds before the music did, so 3:20. Now, what can I do to come back and finish this? See, look at the whimsicalness that this went together. I didn't really paint this. I just painted at it and let the paint run together. This is where I started adding more water to this paper. Remember, I'm dealing with a paper that doesn't have as 100% rag cotton in it. This is cotton. Even though it's rough, it's cold press, it's cotton. And that's the kind of stuff that we're going to talk about in my painting class, as we're going to keep doing this over and over for beginners who say, I cannot get this to do what I want it to do. Why? And I'll tell you this, it's not the paper's fault and it's not the paint's fault. It's always my fault. You thought I was going to say your fault, didn't you? No, it's my fault. I turn out a lot of these, and some of them, they don't turn out too well. Most of them turn out really pretty good because over the years, I've learned how to control it. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with not a medium, that's a medium tip. I'm going to go in with the fine tip. And I'm going to grab this right here, and I'm just going to create a little bit of detail. I'm just going to create a little bit of just whimsical, like I just got out from under the tractor, get off of my case. So I'm just adding a little bit more detail in here. And if my pen picks up some of the purple and some of the orange and even some of this green and just comes in with it, I'll put it back in there. Now I'm going to come in here with a couple of details, little toenails, and then you can't see the back thumb. It's over there. There's a little spur. Same with a toenail here, and a toenail here. Then some veining in the feet. You ever look at chicken's feet? You ever eat chicken's feet? If you do, I don't want to hear about it. Just don't want to hear about it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on that matter. I'm done saying anything. This rooster, I love this rooster. I'll cut him out. I'll auction him off today too. He'll go somewhere. He might have a home here. I might have to. I might have to backtrack what I just said there. Look at that. I'm going to pick up some of this right here. I'm going to go down here, grab my pencil. See what I did? I just laid my brush in this little well right here. It's a little swell of water. I just laid it down in there. See that on my side? You see what I'm doing? And I'm going to come right here, and I'm just going to burnish that a little bit down there like that. You know what's not in this painting at all until right now? A little shot of ultramarine blue. It's hard to do that. I don't do a little painting of blue, but I'm going to just take a little bit of that I put there and sprinkle it out, and I am finished. Grab a little more orange right here on this leg coming down right there, and a little more on this right here. Just touching up now and having fun in the process. You can always do this. It's your painting. You can go back and do with it whatever you want to do. You know, it's not like taking one of those mandatory tests when you're in the 5th grade where it goes, time, put your pencils down. Nah, we're not doing that, okay? Clean out my brushes, lay it all down, and get ready to go make some pancakes. Got a couple grandkids in the house today, and they'll be up shortly. Could all that be accomplished? I love to chat with your daughter again last time. Okay, that's you all having your own conversation. It's a Lamy pen day for me. Yeah, those are beautiful. I love my Lamys. Have 2 of those. You might like this Metropolitan too. It's about the same cost as a Lamy, but this is a medium point. Has a great feel to it. It uses the same filler that this pen uses here. Oh yeah, I'm trying to unscrew it and it just pops off. In fact, look, uh-oh. Uh-oh, this one needs a refill. Somewhere here, there's an entire little metal container that holds all my refills, and so I'll just grab one of those in a minute and pop it in there. I'm going to leave this one. In fact, I'm just going to leave this one open like this. So I'll change it here in just a second. All right. So, okay. Hey, it's always a pleasure to have you guys on. Let me double check for any more questions just here in the last minute of the show. I always like to fill this in if I can. I think that was it. Um, I think, and I'm gonna pick up on Jason's question one more time. Could you interview your daughter again? Yeah, I could do that someday. She might love doing that. To tell you what she's doing right now with some creative, do a grandkid painting show. You know what? This new show that I'm doing, my beginner show, would be great for grandkids. So if you haven't thought about that, and remember, I know it's on Thursday morning early, depending on their age, but you could also watch it with them later. They're going to be recorded, and so. Um, you can send me notes and we could call them out in there. It's a small show right now, so it's a beginner's class. It's called Back to One, and we'll be talking about doing something like that, painting with music and being free and letting the brush roll. But I'd be happy to do something in the future. Maybe a 2 hour show just around Christmas time with grandkids or something like that. We could talk about that. All right. I love doing those things if it helps inspire the community to make more art, give more art away, and to keep you thinking like an artist. That's where I live. That's been the fun for me. You guys help me think like an artist because I sit down in the morning and I think, what bothers me, what people say? Not a whole lot, but really, some of it strikes us, and you go like, well, I don't understand why you're painting like that. And I'll go, I paint like that because I want to express myself. I paint like that because it's my style. I paint like this because, well, it seems like you're always trying to sell something. Well, yeah, I do but I told you I gave away 12 last week, 12 paintings. Um, I sell work to pay for what I do. And that's why I teach classes, which I thought I'd never teach. I teach classes because of you guys. You started it. So it's called Back to One. You can go to rudoodles.com if you want information on the basics class. It's $48.57 for those 4 weeks. Figure it out. That's under, it's $11 and something per class. There's Patreon also, which is $11.57 a month, and I do one class 90 minutes long. This is 4 classes coming together. They'll be recorded. It's on Thursday mornings at 8:57 a.m., but they're recorded. So consider being that, or if somebody wants to do, we're going to start with the basics. Back to the basics. Back to one. All right. I like this rooster. I'm going to sign him, give him a name, take my illustrious potentate pocket knife right here, and I'm going to cut him out of there, and we're ready to go. So I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. I love it when you paint on a napkin. Your grandson did it. All right, I'm out of here. Blessings to you all. I'll respond to some of these comments later today if there's other thoughts or ideas or questions. Could you interview your daughter again? Yes. Okay, thank you. Um, I'll enjoy my pancakes. And you want to know the secret ingredient? Ricotta cheese. Just go ahead and take a big heaping, maybe 2 tablespoons of ricotta. Drop it down in the batter. Mix it all in. Make them fluffy. There, you heard it right here. Almost forgot. Pick up that cup. Take a sip. Look at my wall over here. Wow. See 2 names I really need to send a note to today. I'll do it right now.